This has been a very hard day for the sports community at large, but specifically those involved in NASCAR. Executive Director of the NASCAR Hall of Fame, Winston Kelley. I mean, if you're able to just explain from your perspective what this loss, just on a first page, I guess, means to the sport as a whole right now.
Well, I don't think devastating is a strong enough word, but I don't have enough command of the English language to come up with what it is. It's devastating, heartbreaking. I think we're all numb. And NASCAR is very much a family. And at times like this, you realize how important that family is. And all seven people on that plane are part of that family in some way or another. And while there will be most of the conversation about Greg Biffle, who was a superstar athlete, but he was a superstar human being, as was his wife, Christina. And we certainly remember his daughter, Emma, son, Ryder, as well as the Duttons, Dennis, and his son, Jack, and Greg Wadsworth, who was a part of the NASCAR community. So, it's overwhelming, but we want to remember the quality people that they were.
Yeah, it seems like that is by far and large the impact that he's made on so many is just the person he was and how many lives he touched. Do you have any anecdotes or memories that you can share that maybe you experienced with him that kind of paint the picture of who Greg was?
Well, I think what people are rightfully talking about is how he came to the rescue of so many following Hurricane Helene. And he didn't just send money or pass out water bottles. He got in his helicopter with his money and flew into very challenging areas. And that's just an example of the type of person that he was. He was always approachable as I was a member of the media. And Christina, his wife, participated in many of our fundraisers for the NASCAR Hall of Fame Foundation that helps children most in need. And she did our Over the Edge, rappelling down the side of a building and raised money to do that. So that, just the quality of people that they were. And, I've heard a lot of people call into the NASCAR radio channel who were fans who had the pleasure of meeting him and reminded people he always took that 15, 20, 30 seconds to sign an autograph, take a picture. The stats you can read about if you're a nominee into the NASCAR Hall of Fame and one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers, you are among the elite athletes. But he and Christina were elite people. And I did not know the Duttons or Craig as well, or not at all to some extent with the Duttons, but I hear the same thing about them. So it's the quality of the people that resonates with me so much.
Yeah, it's a rarity to find someone to be so excelling in sport, but also to be such an exceptional just human being. Just seeing the outpouring of support from fellow drivers, from some of the greats in the sport as well. What has it just been like from your perspective? Like you said, the NASCAR world is a family, and it's been one that's been touched by tragedies before. So to see people coming together right now and remembering Greg and his life and legacy, what does that look like from your perspective as well?
Well, I think it reminds us of the tragedies that we've had, be it 30 years ago or 20 years ago, that this family always comes together and supports each other. While competitors on a racetrack or on any sports field, but on a racetrack where it's so intense, they may have their difference of opinions, but they quickly realize how insignificant that was. One driver that he had a run in with, 20 years ago at Watkins Glen, Boris said, called into a local show recently and was just talking about how they had become friends. And I think that's one of the things you see in our sport and probably in other sports too, that just rallying around each other and realizing how blessed we are to have had them in our life And, when people are as young as Greg and his family and the Duttons and Wadsworth are so young, it even amplifies the grief, I think, because there's so much that they have given and left to give. And, on earth, we don't understand why these things happen. And, maybe in an afterlife we will, but it's just devastating. But we've got to remember what they have done, not what they have done in a sport or business, but what they have done for people. And these folks certainly exemplify that.
In the sport, though, as you mentioned, he is one of the greats, named one of the 75 greatest. His career spanning 3 decades. Are you able to, though, speak a little bit about what kind of driver he was, who he was when he was getting in a car, and what kind of energy and persona he maybe took on that made him as successful as he did throughout his career?
Well, he was very focused, and most any driver that gets to the cup level is incredibly focused on what they're doing. But he also won on all different types of tracks. He was very versatile. He was quickly very successful, winning the Craftsman Truck Series championship in 2000. 2 years later, the Busch Series, now O'Reilly Auto Parts Series championship, coming very close in 2005 to be the first to win at all three national levels. And he won at some of NASCAR's toughest tracks like Darlington and Daytona. So he was focused, he was determined, he was a hard racer, but he was a fair racer, and could drive anything, any type of car. He did a lot of off-road racing after he got out of NASCAR, but he came back after he'd been retired a number of years and won a Truck Series race at Texas. Still incredibly fit. Saw him a couple of weeks ago it's actually an autograph session that was a fundraiser. Just what, 2 weeks ago, he and Christina were both there, still giving back. But yeah, he was focused, but he was fair, and a hard-nosed racer in the best of ways.
Was that the last time that you saw him or spoke with him that you were just describing that autograph session?
Yes, yes, it was literally 2 weeks ago at an autograph session in Mooresville that also raises money for a children's cause that several people, probably, 75, 80 people signing autographs, and he being one of them.
Wow, that's amazing. I know he was a nominee on the modern ballot this year once again. I know it's obviously been a little soon since the news has all happened, but from your side, from the Hall of Fame, I'm sure there could be some plans maybe moving forward to enshrine him. Are there any details or any plans as of right now that you have for wanting to make sure his legacy lives on in the Hall of Fame?
Well, we will acknowledge it. We don't make early enshrinements, and I don't think anybody would want that, even in their memory. And, as a nominee, in my opinion, it's not a matter of if he goes into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, it's when he goes in to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And as a nominee, he's already acknowledged, but there will be a number of things that we will do on our exterior video board, our fan billboard inside the hall, acknowledging it as you go into the Hall of Honor, where inductees and nominees are recognized, and call that to people's attention. And like I said, I think it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, as a nominee.